Design in all its glory, lamps, chairs, exhibitions, hotels, restaurants. There's one man in Britain who's designed all of these things and made them very successful and a great visual pleasure over the last 60 years, and that's Terence Conran. I went to Barton Court to meet Terence Conran just as he turned 80.
It's interesting, we've had flat pack furniture the last X years, haven't we? Which is fun.
Well, I was the first person to make it in this country. Sumer range called. And it became the reason I started Habitat. But not one retailer that we went to had got any philosophy. It's just a hodgepodge of different bits and pieces that they thought anybody coming through the door might want. So I thought, there's only one way to do this. Start our own shop and make it a place that people will enjoy going to. So I thought, what makes a shop busy? Having things that people can afford and want on a sort of fairly frequent basis. And very much inspired by the writings of Elizabeth David, who had got this desire to make good continental food in people. They couldn't buy the equipment to make it with, everything was thin and tinny. I thought, let's have a damn good kitchen department. And so Habitat was born. I'd worked with Mary Quant, designing her shops for her. And so I'd seen it happening in fashion. So I thought, well, surely this change can happen in furniture as well.
And it did.
And it did.
His strategy follows a close examination of social trends. His launch of Habitat, offering cheap, cheerful furniture, was geared to the affluent young of the 1960s. One shop in London led to 77 shops through Europe and America. His launch in America in the 1970s followed the boom in homosexuality and divorce, which he concluded would add to the demand for cheap, single apartment furniture.
He really has changed the way that the British eat, live, sleep. I mean, allegedly he introduced the great British public to the duvet some years ago. He started practicing at a time when the diet was toad in the hole, when rationing meant that you got 2 inches of hot water in your bath. So he has changed those ways that we address things. The things that we're sitting on, you can see a Breuer Vasily chair, the Bauhaus moment. You can see this retro Chesterfield sofa upholstered in Collier Campbell fabrics. You can see Rodney Kinsman, the very successful British furniture designer's tubular steel furniture. Terence could put all these things together and make sense out of them. Terence is a serial entrepreneur. He has a restaurant business, he has a design business, he has an architectural practice, he has a shop, he has several shops, he has a restaurant chain. It's that kind of energy which is rather extraordinary.
Historically, not many designers have been great business figures.
A lot of designers say, well, I don't know anything about the finance, my brother-in-law does that, or I hire somebody to do that. Terence realized that that wasn't what was important, that it was important to get to grips with the finances, the selling, the profit margins of things, running shops, running businesses, and talking to businessmen about design was the crucial thing. Otherwise, the whole thing implodes, really, if you don't get business on board. And there was a moment in the 80s when Conran Design Group were responsible for transforming the high street. If you look at the brands from Burton's, Hepworth's, Next, Mothercare, Wallace we did, it's a huge lineup.
Terence Conran's idea of easy living and good design are all around us here in the Design Museum exhibition. It's a show that really explains the story of how Conran moved on from creating Habitat, the world-famous high street design shop, to create a design empire, Storehouse PLC, with so many high street shops that were part of that. But all the while that he was moving on in the big business world, connecting big business and design, his love for hedonism, for easy living, stayed and was represented in his restaurants too.
So the first restaurant was very early, wasn't it? The little one, the soup kitchen.
Soup kitchen was 1952, yes.
And that really was what it said. I mean, it's a soup kitchen.
It was a soup kitchen, but the secret ingredient, success of soup kitchens, was the second espresso coffee machine in London. We had to go all the way to Turin in a clapped-out old car to buy one second-hand, a Gaggia.
Then the restaurants, off you went. I mean, after that, you did.
Yeah, I did Neal Street Restaurant in Covent Garden. And then the thing that really set me going was the Verbendum restaurant in the Michelin building, which was immediately hugely successful. And I thought, well, there's a market.
The thing about Terence is that he's still fascinated by making things and continues to do so with his bespoke line of furniture made at Barton Court.
About 3 years ago, we decided we would produce a range of furniture that we would offer through catalogue and website for people who like to come here to our showroom and buy direct. Isn't it lovely?
Gosh, yes, that's nice to feel, isn't it?
Yeah.
Lovely.
Lovely. What we do is a mixture of contract furnishing, you know, practically every restaurant we make the furniture for. We do a lot of hotels and gigantic projects, you know, for Norman Foster and for Richard Rogers.
You're in one way such a modern, with a capital M, and on the other hand, you still are an arts and craftsman in a way, aren't you?
Oh, there's a bit of William Morris in it.
You're still there, isn't it? It's never gone, has it? And I know he's part of the roots of British modernism, but it's never gone, has it? This importance of still not just designing the thing, but making it.
You know, I keep on talking to government about how important it is to keep behind the crafts because they can develop the industry which will be the future employers.
Governments are finally taking a vague interest, aren't they? And oh dear, we're not making things.
As I say, I think the idea of being in a country that doesn't make anything completely destroys national pride.
You've tried harder than almost anybody to democratise good design. But how does one democratise that? I mean, you've tried. It's not the easiest thing in the world to do, as we all know.
Well, I've tried and recently succeeded in being commissioned by Marks and Spencer's to design product for them.
And that's furniture.
Home furnishings to begin with, yes. We've only just started, but we have a team of 8 people working on it absolutely full time. M&S could be the best possible way of doing the thing that I feel in my heart that I want to do, is bring intelligently designed product to the mass market at a price they can afford. Exactly the same way, I guess, that William Morris never gave up.